What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Disc Golf Nerd Plastic Podcast, episode 6. In episode 5, I kind of got back to my roots here on YouTube and did some, just beginner disc golf tips and advice for folks out there, just trying to help spread a little information for people that maybe aren't terribly experienced with disc golf. Some stuff that I've noticed over the years that I thought might help. And on that video, a subscriber named Michael Chambers left a comment with his top 10 pieces of advice, and I really liked it, so I kind of wanted to expand on it and break it out into a video. So shout out to Michael Chambers. I appreciate the comment. I asked if he was cool with it. He agreed, said he would be honored, so that's nice. He's got really nice positive comments that he leaves on a number of my videos. One of the many really great, kind-hearted, positive, kind of beneficial subscribers that I'm blessed with here on YouTube. I appreciate all you guys. Thanks very much. Also, real quick before I get into it, going forward, I would be happy to answer questions on the podcast. If you guys have anything you want me to talk about or anything like that, you have any type, beginner type questions or stuff like that, feel free to leave them as comments on any of the episodes. As you guys hopefully know, I'm pretty on top of comments and stuff. This channel is one of my main hobbies, so I spend a lot of time with it. So I'll probably see your comment unless it gets buried somehow. But if you leave a comment or send me a personal message, send me a message on Facebook, I should find it, and I will, maybe I can put together like a Q&A type episode if I get a few questions or something like that, or I could add a couple questions on to these little other podcasts and that sort of thing. So let's move on to the top 10 list that was submitted by Michael Chambers, top 10 tips that helped him out. And I will give you my take on some of these. I think it's all pretty solid advice. All right, so number 1, start with neutral low-speed discs. This is something I just talked about on episode 5 and also in a video I posted about the number 1 mistake I see people making out there on the course. And that is throwing discs that are too fast and too stable for beginners. You want to throw nice low-speed putters and mid-ranges that are neutral flying, so they're not overstable or super understable. Understable is definitely better than overstable, especially for beginners. Stuff like Meteors, a very understable disc, but a great beginner disc. But still, when you're a beginner, an understable disc will basically be pretty neutral for you, unless you are just naturally blessed with decent form, or you really get going on the right foot, like you have a friend who's really good that teaches you good form straight away. You might be able to jump over some of the stuff, but for the average beginner, neutral low speed discs is great advice. Something that I've been pushing here on the channel for a long time, starting with putters, starting with mid ranges. Putters, Discraft Soft Magnet, AVRs, Dynamic Discs Warden, Lat264 Pure, the Gateway Magic. That's just a few options off the top of my head. All great. Neutral, straight flying putters. The Prodigy, PA3, PA4, those are pretty neutral to understable. Straight flying putters. What else you got? So for mid ranges, Discraft Meteor, Discraft Buzz, the Innova Wombat, especially the G-Star Wombat's a really great straight flying disc. And then what else do we got? Let's see here. I'm drawing a blank here. There's so many good options out there. The MVP Axis is a great disc. MVP Tangent would be a great beginner disc. As far as mid ranges, the Axiom Theory. Also a solid beginner mid-range type disc. And I'm kind of spacing on other companies for some reason. I think the Lat264 Core probably be a good move. Dynamic Discs, what's that new one that they just released? Now I'm going to go look this up real quick. This is the benefit of doing this podcast at my computer. I can geek out and go click right over and find these things. What is that? The Evidence? The Evidence is one, yeah. The Dynamic Discs Evidence. And they released another one that's even more understable, the Warrant. Another nice straight flying understable mid-range disc. So that's just number 10. I'm already rambling on it. So start with low speed neutral discs. Great advice. Okay, moving on. Oh wait, he's going 1 to 10 here. So that was number one. Number two, stick to what you know. I like that advice too. It kind of piggybacks again on something I mentioned in episode 5. Don't be a hero, and also don't let internal pressure from yourself kind of make you do something that you're not comfortable with because you feel like you need to keep up with somebody on your card, whether that's trying to throw harder than you think you're able to because somebody else on your card is throwing far, and then you tense up and really try to rip one, and next thing you know you shank it, and you'd be better off just throwing a nice smooth drive into the middle of the fairway and move on, and don't worry about the fact that you're a little bit behind the other people on your card. Also, if you see somebody throw a line that you're not comfortable with, like they throw a big turnover where you usually go straight, they throw a sidearm where you usually go hyzer, just stick with your game, stick with what you know, and generally you'll shoot better that way, at least in pressure situations. If you guys want to, try some different things when you're out just, practicing and having fun casual rounds, I'm all about that as well. But when it counts, stick with what you know and stay with shots that you feel comfortable and consistent with and confident with. Number 3, don't let bad shots ruin your attitude. This is something a lot of golfers can be guilty of, where you throw one really bad drive, you end up taking a bad number. Maybe you take a double bogey or something like that, and the worst thing you can do is let that frustration and anger or whatever it is, that negative energy, carry into the rest of the round. It's just really going to multiply, and if you get to the next tee and you're still steaming, pissed off from the last shot, and you're all frustrated, you're probably not going to throw the best shot you can on that tee. Another tip that's not on this list, but I'm going to throw it in the middle here, is keep score with a scorecard. It's helpful. You just write down the score and you kind of move on. It helps you stay in the moment, because that's what you want to do. You just want to throw one shot at a time. Once you throw a shot, there's nothing you can do about it. So getting upset about how bad that last shot was is completely useless, because you can't go back and undo that shot. It happened. All you can do is improve from there and throw the next shot better. That's all you can do. One shot at a time. And don't let bad throws or a bad break, even maybe you throw a great shot and it takes a rough kick, and ends up somewhere rough that you don't want to be, and you feel like something bad happened to you and it wasn't necessarily your fault. Don't let that ruin your attitude. It's just going to mess up the rest of your score, and you're going to be a lot less fun to play with if you're out there with your buddies, if you're just complaining all the time. I can get into that mode when I feel like things aren't going my way, and I try to be mindful of that. So that's definitely a great tip. All right, number 4, play against yourself, which means to basically just keep track of your scores and really only be focused on improving your own score. Don't worry about whether or not you can beat your buddy that always has a few strokes on you, or whatever the case may be. Just play against yourself, play against the course, and just try to keep improving on the scores that you're able to shoot, and you'll just keep getting better that way. And don't worry about what everybody else is doing on the card. Just stick to your own game, stick to yourself, and as long as you're improving, you're improving. If you shoot 2 strokes better than you did the last time you played there, even if you lost to your other couple buddies, that's an improvement, and you're better, and that's all good. So, I like that tip. Number 5, catch your breath and focus. This is a good one, especially for putting. A lot of times you get to your putt, maybe you had a long uphill, climb or something in the woods to get to where your drive landed. You're lining up for your putt. Take that extra second to catch your breath, slow down a little bit, and definitely maintain your focus. Same thing with all shots. If you feel like you're huffing and puffing from a hike or something like that, or if you're just like kind of agitated for whatever reason, slow down, take a couple of deep breaths, and let your body relax a little bit. Focus on that shot, and again, leave the other shots that already happened behind. They don't matter anymore. The only thing that matters is that shot that you're throwing right now. I've heard a great piece of advice that Dave Feldberg gave, that he got from Ken Climo many years ago. Basically, they were competing. Dave Feldberg was still an up-and-coming player at the time, and he would just try to stay focused on every single moment while he's out there on the course. He's just, you know, just really, really on top of everything. He's super focused all the time and really intense. And he would see Climo's out there. He's laughing, he's joking around, and as soon as he gets to his shot, he lines it up and he throws a great shot, and he's always consistent. And then in between that, he's just he's looking around and he's not really paying all that much attention to what's going on. After the round, Kenny's like, "Hey, Dave, how you feeling right now?" It's like, "Champ, I gotta tell you, I'm exhausted. I'm just worn out." He's like, "That's because you're focusing way too much all the time." He's like, "You cannot be in that focus mode for the entire round. The only times you need to focus, and the only times I focus, are when I'm actively throwing a shot. If I'm not actively throwing a shot or a putt or a drive, I'm thinking about anything other than disc golf, and I'm clearing my mind." And that way, when you get to that next shot, you take a couple of deep breaths, you focus, and you're in that moment, and you don't mentally exhaust yourself by just trying to stay focused the whole time. Stay in the zone. You can kind of go in and out of it if you work it. If you work with that, that's something I'm pretty good at. I can have a great time out there in the course and goof around, but when it's time for me to throw my shot, I can maintain a pretty consistent throwing ability. And yeah, I love that tip. It's great advice. So moving on, number 6. During your throws, move slow to fast and not just fast. This, for me, particularly pertains to driving. A lot of people think that they need to be fast throughout their whole throw. They need to do a really fast run-up. And really all you're doing is just causing yourself more problems. The only time you really need to speed up, you can go slow through your whole run-up. Nice and slow. A couple of steps. Slow, slow, slow. You're reaching back, nice and slow, smooth. And then as you're pulling through that last second, as you pull it, in tight to your body, you want to accelerate right then, right before it releases out of your hand. That's when you want the acceleration to happen. If you're going to try to do a fast run-up, you need to make sure that you don't, run so fast that you're slowing down by the time you release the disc, or else there's basically no reason to do it. You see a few players out there that can do a fast run up and really rip it, but they still are maintaining that acceleration at the last second. So you need to kind of alter your speed based on that. It's a little bit more of an advanced tip, but basically don't feel like you need to run up fast. You can be nice and slow and smooth and controlled throughout your whole throw, and just think about accelerating that little bit right before the disc comes out of your hand. You reach back. As you're starting to pull forward, your weight is shifting. Bam, right there. You accelerate just that little bit. It helps the disc propel out of your hand and helps you get distance. But you can stay nice and smooth and slow and controlled the whole rest of the time. So that's a great tip. Number 7, dress comfortable. Pretty self-explanatory. You just have good shoes out there. I've always recommended having some solid shoes with support. You don't want to be wearing flip-flops out there. You want to wear something with some good support, especially if you play wooded golf. You don't want to be, rolling an ankle, climbing around on tree limbs and stuff if you get off the fairway. So you need to, dress comfortable with your shoes. Wear something solid and, pretty durable. I definitely recommend Vibram outsoles on your shoes. They last a long time for me. They've always worked out well for me for disc golf shoes, where you're putting a lot of stress on the bottom of your shoes. Pivoting when you're throwing and sliding on your foot, on that pivot before you release and stuff like that. So always good to have some solid outsoles. But the rest of the time, dress comfortable, wear nice. I really like those dry fit shirts that keep you cool. They wick moisture away from your body, so you're not wearing a t-shirt that's just drenched with sweat, especially on a summer day. It's really nice to have some of those dry fit shirts. Usually I'll wear 2 of them as well. All that stuff is good. I pretty much always wear shorts when I'm playing disc golf. So yeah, I like to feel comfortable out there and nice and loose. You don't want to wear anything that's too constricting. So that's good advice. Playing it safe. Number 8, playing it safe saves scores. I absolutely agree with this one as well. I lay up quite a bit. I don't like to go for low percentage shots. I don't like to go for long putts that could put me in a terrible position if I miss them. Depending on the situation, I guess, you always have to be able to kind of make those decisions. Once you make the decision to go for something, you need to commit to it. Nothing's gonna mess you up faster than kind of being wishy-washy and half going for it, half not going for it. Especially if there's a dangerous situation. There's times where it's a big wide open putt, where there's not much behind the basket, there's nothing behind the basket. You can kind of give it a half a go. That's totally fine. That's fine in those situations. But if you're gonna go for a putt where if you miss it and it's gonna go in the water, it's gonna go OB, you better commit to it and throw it strong, and or else you're going to be in. If you kind of are iffy about it and you don't commit to it, you're probably going to mess it up. So play it safe, save scores. I definitely like that concept. Definitely recommend laying up. Don't feel like you need to throw it into the basket or try to throw it into the basket whenever possible. Most of the time, you're better off just trying to put your upshot nice and close to tap in and move on. Every once in a while, it's fun to go throw at something and try to get it in. Again, of course, depending on the situation. If you need to make that birdie to have a chance of winning or something, then you got to go for it. Other than that, lay it up and move on. And also, if you find yourself in the rough or in a tough situation in the woods, especially, don't be a hero and try to punch it through that tiny gap that doesn't have a lot of chance of success. Play it safe and just pitch back out into the fairway and move on, and you'll probably shoot better for it. Number 9, premium plastics are nice but not necessary. A lot of people feel like they need to get, the really nice Star plastic or, Opto, Goldline, Star Champion, Z, ESP, all the, high quality, durable $13, $14, $15 plastics out there, MVP Proton or Neutron, stuff like that. I totally agree with this too, because I for a long time threw a bunch of baseline drivers. Those were my favorite drivers for a couple of years. I actually just went back last night and made public again all of my old in the bag videos. I had made them private, and I was like, you know what, whatever. I'm just gonna make these public, leave them out there if people want to see, how terrible I was on camera and all the wacky discs I've carried over the years, and how my bag system has kind of evolved. That's fine. It's all out there for public record. You can go check it out if you really want to geek out. But what was I saying here? Yeah, I threw Pro D Forces for a couple of years as my primary driver. And the nice cheap plastics are great for a number of reasons. One, they're cheap, they're inexpensive, they're accessible, they're easy to get. If you don't throw with a lot of power, especially beginners, you're not going to beat it up super fast, so you can get that kind of, just baseline Pro D, DX disc, and you don't have to worry about beating it up because you're not throwing all that fast. So even if you hit some trees, it's all good. You're probably not going to destroy it until you have some, more power. I think they get a bad rap because a lot of people, when you get better and you're more experienced and you throw hard, if you hit a tree real solid, you can, change the flight of that disc forever in one throw, which isn't a great attribute unless you're trying to get a system where you throw, at the time I threw all Pro D Forces, and I had them all broken into different levels. I had a couple that were lightweight, so were just really nice straight flyers. I had one that was like medium weight, about 168 or so, but it was nicely broken in, so that thing was just laser beam straight, or I could throw turnovers with it. Then I had a couple of slightly heavier ones that were in better shape that I could throw for hyzers and more overstable shots. And it's much easier to get that kind of a system going on with the cheaper plastic, especially for mid-ranges. A lot of Innova players love to throw the DX Rock because it's real easy to get a few different DX rocks and break them into different levels, where you have one that's understable, one that's straight stable, one that's fresh and still nicely slightly overstable, and you can fill in all those different shots in your bag with one mold, one model of disc. It's a nice consistent way to do it. So the cheap baseline plastics are great for that. They're also really nice when it gets wet because they have really good grip in wet conditions. That's a nice aspect of them as well. And, if you have say you have a Pro D or DX disc that you really like to throw, you like the way it flies, you can put it in the bag. If it gets speed up to the point where it starts changing, you can either keep using it or you can give it away to a friend or whatever and get another one for a couple of bucks and you're back in business. or keep that baseline disc as a disc that you throw in big open fields for distance, and you don't have to worry about it getting beat up. Then it should last quite a while as long as you're not smashing trees with it. So yeah, definitely premium plastics are great. I have no problem with them. A lot of people throw them, myself included, of course, but totally not necessary, especially when you're a beginner. Don't be afraid to buy those cheap baseline discs just to get started, and you might actually find out that you really like the way they fly even as you get more experience. And where am I at here time wise? Oh, perfect. Right around 20 minutes. That's what I'd like these to be. Number 10, most importantly, have fun. Couldn't agree more. And Michael Chambers, thanks again for submitting your top 10, letting me turn into the podcast here for episode 6. Absolutely agree. Having fun is very important, and if that's not why you're playing disc golf, I'm not sure why you are playing disc golf. It's all about having fun, getting out there, getting some exercise, getting some fresh air, playing a great game. Hopefully you got some friends you can play with. If not, hopefully in your area there's some leagues and doubles and different things where you can meet some folks to play. Or, if you don't have any friends that play disc golf, buy a disc for them and tell them to come on out. Spend $8 or whatever. Be like, hey, I bought you a disc. Let's go throw. Teach them how it works. If they get into it, that's great. If not, you tried, and maybe they'll get hooked like I did and like so many other people did. Getting into the game, and you can kind of help inspire a new generation of players. All that is great. Bring your kids out to learn how to play disc golf. Hopefully, if you guys need any help with any of these type of topics for people that are just starting out, I have a bunch of information here on my channel about those sort of things. And have fun out there. It's a great sport. We have a ton of love for it. I put a lot of time and effort into trying to grow it and help people, have fun out there on the course. That's one of the main reasons why I help people try to understand concepts like understable and overstable and beginner discs and all that kind of stuff, is because I want people who go out and try disc golf to enjoy it and feel like they're good at it and that they can get better and not get discouraged. That's a huge mission here on the Disc Golf Nerd channel. Have fun. Thanks a lot again to Michael Chambers. Thanks to all my listeners and viewers and subscribers on YouTube. Really appreciate all the support. I will talk to you guys later. All right, cheers.